Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing another Audible book review. This one is on a book by Josephine Wolff called You'll See This Message When It's Too Late. It is narrated by Kate Reading, publisher is Blackstone Audio, and it was published back in November of 2018. Author's other works include Cyber Insurance Policy. It's available on Kindle, Audible, hardcover, audio CD, TLDR. My rating is 5 stars. A little bit about the author. Josephine Wolff is like this cyber goddess of all things tech and privacy. She's a brilliant mind and a professor of cybersecurity policy at Rochester Institute of Technology and a regular commentator on all things cyber for national and international media outlets. She has a PhD in public policy from Harvard and a book under her belt. She's definitely someone you want in your corner when it comes to understanding the future of civil liberties in the digital age. Her research focuses on how technology, policy, and society interact, and her work has been funded by the National Science Foundation, the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Plus, she's not just all work and no play. She also enjoys speaking to different audiences on topics of cybersecurity, online privacy, and internet governance, making her the ultimate tech-savvy, privacy-loving go-to gal in the field. I broke a little summary of the book. It's broken into 4 sections, each of which is 3 to 4 chapters long. The first section recounts 3 major financially motivated cyber incidents: the TJX breach, South Carolina Department of Revenue, the SCDOR, and the Zeus botnet / CryptoLocker. You'll get a good understanding of some defensive measures to thwart financial cybercrimes, along with a fantastic history lesson. The second section deals with cyber espionage, DigiNotar, which is a certificate authority, and China's PLA Unit 61398, as well as the breach to the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, OPM. The defensive measures one might take to counteract these crimes has some overlap, but is interestingly more difficult to prevent. The third section highlights cyber acts of public humiliation, Spamhouse's DDoS, Sony's breach, one of many breaches, and the adulterous Ashley Madison website. These crimes are perhaps most difficult to thwart, and as the motivations and information required are different. The final section is something of a review. It focuses on potential solutions to issues, the underlying economic costs, and the legislative agenda tied to those issues. The intended audience is likely cybersecurity professionals, legislators, lawyers, and C-suite folks. Think CTO or CISO. This text tosses around technical jargon and acronyms like candy on Halloween. You need to know what they stand for. While the author does make an attempt to explain many of the concepts, it's likely unreasonable for her to have to explain them all. If you don't know the following terms, it's going to be a difficult read: IP addresses, certificate authority, botnet, endpoint protection, firewall, router, switches. It's unlikely that this was intended for a broader audience, such as the average user of technology, which is kind of a shame. It's slightly too technical to be friendly to that average user. But if you're smarter than the average bear and are interested in some of the most serious and major breaches of our lifetime, then it might be worth giving it a try. My thoughts. I'm a cybersecurity analyst, right? I've heard about many of these breaches already. In fact, 9 of the main incidents, of the 9, I knew about 7. Did that make this less useful to me? Not really. The reason for that is the slant. The author takes this legislative and economic spin and the ramifications on those breaches. My previous interaction with similar material was more on the technical front, not financial. It was good to see a bigger picture on how and why things played out the way they did. I'm really glad I listened to this, but I probably wouldn't do it again unless I had to write a term paper or something. It is pretty dry. If you told me nothing about the author, I'd stake my next paycheck that it was written by a professor. It reads like a lecture. It's just a ton of information and facts and details and all good stuff to know. It's just not necessarily entertaining or relatable or fun. Parts were kind of a drag. For instance, when the US government was breached, folks were just pointing fingers at each other, shifting blame around. I think the government needs a good lesson in leadership from Jocko on extreme ownership. But I digress. The last section was terribly boring to me. I missed a good portion of it and didn't much care to re-listen. My unwillingness to go back was partly from the lack of engagement from the author created, as well as, and this is big, the sheer amount of repetition. I get it. Teachers need to say something. Picking back up here, I just finished it. My kid came in, I got some eggs, it was awesome. Then I went through and finished it, realized I wasn't recording. So let's do it again. Alright, teachers need to say something. And on average, 7 times for us to remember. I get it. But, we could seriously have cut this book down by a third and would likely be better off for it. It's just too long for what it is. I don't need the OPM story re-summarized 6 different ways from Sunday to get the point. It's a good book. I gave it 5 stars. Honestly, here's why. It's basically a must-read for security folks. It's packed with useful information. The legislative and economic focus is just full of gems. You're not going to really get that anywhere else. However, hopefully the second edition can cut out some of that fluff. The book reminds me a lot of Darknet Diaries, which is where I first encountered many of these breaches. Jack Sider, the host of Darknet Diaries, he's fun, engaging, entertaining. He's a phenomenal storyteller. Highly recommend checking out his podcast if you need a less detailed, non-legislative, economic-focused version of these events. Perhaps a more accurate title for the book would be, By the Time This Is Published, It Will Be Too Late. Last section here, Audible review. The text is read by a professional female voice, Kate Redding. She's clear, easy to understand. There are no distracting background noises, no lawnmowers, no page flipping. It's awesome. I was easily able to listen at 2.0 speed, and even at times 2.25. I was convinced this was the voice of an AI because she was able to pronounce words and names that I couldn't even begin to spell. Overall, very pleasant, if not a bit serious sounding voice. Highly recommend. Check it out. Definitely worth your time. And until next time, thanks for watching.